Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 4AM Crew podcast. We are on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. You can look us up at the 4AM Crew podcast. And today I am your host with Dom beside me, Cole and Dom. Colton is not here today because he is tired from work and he has to do overtime possibly. So it's just me and Dom doing a sports podcast today. We haven't done a sports podcast in I don't know how long, probably 2 weeks maybe.
It's probably been around there.
It's
Yeah,
been
we
it's
just been a little busy.
But recently, a lot of people have been entering the draft. So we're going to be talking about the draft today. We're going to be talking about bowl games that have happened through December and January, and then the biggest that everybody's been talking about, just the college football playoff. But I'm going to just start off with all the players entering the draft, and we'll just highlight some of the main important ones that people are looking at.
Yeah, all the early entries that are skipping their junior, not well, yeah, junior and senior years.
All right.
Obviously, the biggest one being Chase Young. Any surprise there? I don't think there's any
No,
surprise.
Heisman contender. He's only a junior, and he's really highly anticipated in the draft. Top, or he's one or two probably gonna happen. So no surprise there.
Where would you take him? Would you take him one or two?
Well, Bengals have the first pick, right, and then the Redskins.
Yes.
Well, I think it works best for the Bengals not to pick a DN since they definitely need a quarterback. And if you're the
You're not a
Redskins,
fan of Andy Dalton?
no, because he's only had one game, and I predicted that they were going to win the one game.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Remember that.
So, and then the Redskins, do the Redskins, I haven't really looked at the Redskins just because they've been shit, but do they need like anything besides like help on
They
their
need,
defense?
the Redskins need just about everything.
I mean, they have a running, well, yeah, they still have Peterson, don't they?
You think Peterson's good?
He's okay. I mean, they
I
don't
mean,
need need a running back, but
I wouldn't say that anybody would pick a running back this early anyway. I just think they just at this point the Redskins just picked the best available player, and that is Chase Young.
yeah, I guess that's probably because they don't need a QB, and that's where a QB would go.
Oh yeah, they got Mr. Dwayne Haskins, fellow Ohio State member himself.
So yeah, I think it works best for him to go in that spot.
Yeah, with the Redskins and all their needs, at that point you pick the best, most raw talent out there, and that is Chase Young by far.
And with him being a junior, having a Heisman season or a close to a Heisman season, he got elected for it. I mean, it's a pretty good season going to draft. A lot of people are
Yeah,
looking at all that.
I remember a few weeks ago he was saying how he was unsure if he was entering, and he was considering staying at Ohio State for his senior year, and I thought that was just stupid of him to say.
I'm pretty sure he just
Is
got nervous
oh yeah,
in front of the guy and just uttered the wrong words.
there's no way after that season are you staying in college.
Oh
Go
yeah,
get paid.
for sure. That was definitely a stupid answer.
Um, Staying at Ohio State, J.K. Dobbins also
That
has
was a
entered
surprise to me.
the draft. You really think so? He's probably one of the best, if not the best, running back in the country this year, besides a select few.
I just didn't think he was gonna be ready. It just caught me off guard.
Was it because you didn't think he was NFL ready, or you just thought he wanted to stay at Ohio State for another season?
I think
Just
he wanted
because
to
he
stay
wanted.
for his final season. I don't think a lot of running backs go early, do they?
Well, a lot of running backs don't get drafted early. NFL teams are not fans of
No,
drafting
no,
running
no,
backs early.
not drafting early. I don't think they usually leave until like their senior year though.
No, that's what I'm saying. They usually don't leave because there's no point, because most of the time they won't get taken early anyway. So
But he
their
was
draft stock.
people were talking about him for the Heisman, so and he had over 2,000 yards this season. So
Yeah, he had a great season. It's just that NFL teams are very wary on picking running backs because of just the difference between their game of college and NFL football.
yeah, I mean it's a shock, but if you look at it, yeah, it makes sense. He had a great season, and he had a great season last year too. And
Oh yeah,
he's
without a
like,
doubt, he was a top running back in the country, and if he certainly wanted to chase his dreams and enter the draft, he should have. This is the season to do it on.
yeah, he just think got third in all Ohio State overall yards. So
That's crazy.
just not even just running backs, just yards in general. So
That's a
that's pretty
great
crazy.
accomplishment.
Who else you want to talk about?
Um, well, if we're talking about running backs like J.K. Dobbins, Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin, also entered the draft.
He was a senior, right?
No, he was a junior. He
So yeah,
foregoed his senior
two
season.
I feel like he should have stayed just because there's a lot.
What?
There's a lot in this draft. There's a lot.
Well, yeah, but there's going to be a lot in every draft, isn't there?
I don't feel like next season's draft is gonna be as packed as this one. There's a lot of heavy people in this draft.
There is, but I can see what he still had an amazing season, and he was a top three running back all year. I just don't see how you can't enter the draft. I know he might have like fell a little bit under expectations because I think going into the season
He
he was
also
a
had a
Heisman
2,000 yard
favorite.
season too.
He
Yeah.
was a Heisman favorite to enter, and then he obviously with the Joe Burrow experience and a couple others, he fell a little bit under the radar. But that under the radar was still an amazing season.
But if I'm a team, Dobbins is in the draft and Taylor's in the draft. I don't. I don't think I'm picking Taylor.
Really?
I don't. Uh,
Why?
what I've seen from Taylor is when he goes into big games, besides the Ohio State Big Ten game, I don't think he's really performed that well. That's mainly
I
I
mean,
feel like
is that
because a lot of
because of
teams focus
him,
on him.
or is that because his offensive line finally met a better defensive line and they couldn't handle it?
Well, that defensive line was they're all juniors and seniors.
Yeah, that's true.
So I personally I don't get this because the only time I watch Wisconsin is when they play a decent team because they just mainly will just blow out the team. But when they play and they always hype up Jonathan Taylor, I don't ever see him get like. I think the first game he didn't even get 100 yards against Ohio State. And
I get what you mean. When
even
you're
in the
saying
Minnesota
he's
game,
not one of the top, maybe two running backs in the draft to some people, but if you're a top five running back, you enter the draft. It's just not a question to me. If you have the talent to go be one of the first of like five running backs, go in the draft, dude.
yeah. But if I'm a team though, I just see that as if I'm a team and if Dobbins is in there, I'm gonna pick him probably because he's more of an elite runner than him. He's quicker, he's stronger, really good blocker. Even though Jonathan Taylor's a really good blocker too, I just don't think he's as good of a runner.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying that. There's always possibility when you enter the draft there's going to be a better player than you, but that's not the point. You still, if you are capable of being drafted in a decent round, you enter the draft.
Yeah, not everybody's Joe Burrow.
All right. From Taylor, Joe Burrow, quarterbacks. So let's go to some quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa decided to enter the draft. I am very happy with that decision.
But I think we all knew that.
I know. I feel like some people were scared though after the hip injury that he would want to stay in college to prove that he was still a good quarterback, which in a real perspective wouldn't have been the smartest idea because if he wasn't 100%, that would have really hurt his draft stock next year.
But I mean, if you think about it either way, it's a tough decision. But everybody knew he was gonna go. I mean, if he stays in
Oh
college,
yeah.
gets hurt. If he goes to the draft, nobody knows how stable he is. If he's gonna get hurt again, which he's got to get hurt again. 4
Well, but
injuries.
even with that, just even not even worrying about getting hurt again, will he come back being the same Tua he was before after a
Yeah,
hip
because how
surgery?
long has he played? How long has it been since he played a game?
Well, it hasn't been that long. I don't think that they're worried about that. I think they're just worried that the hip will not be anywhere near what it used to be, and he won't be able to perform the same tasks he did
But yeah,
before.
because he hasn't like truly put full force activity on it like he would in a game. So
Well,
who knows how long that's gonna be until they realize it, you know?
he could just never be the same Tua, which is what people are scared of. But then they were also scared of if he stayed, he could, like you said, possibly get hurt again or expose himself to not being the quarterback he once was because of the injury and losing draft
But
stock.
you also got to think he's had 4 surgeries. This was the fourth one. He had 3 before, and he played well after all 3 of those. So
But this is a major surgery.
yeah, it's just something to shine light on it and make him seem like he does well after getting surgery done.
Yeah, I agree with Tua. I'm happy he entered the draft. I hope he still goes early, first couple rounds. He was a predicted first round. I don't know if he'll still go first round because of the injury. He probably will, though, because there's a lot of desperate teams out there looking for a quarterback, and he's probably a top three quarterback in this draft. So good for him. Congratulations.
Think he's top
Now
3?
yeah, for quarterbacks, definitely, because now I'm going to bring up one of the quarterbacks I'm not
Okay.
happy with entering, Jake Fromm. Dude,
Yeah, but
this was probably his worst season.
it is. He started off great, did better, and then he dropped the season. He did terrible.
I don't even know how much better he did from freshman to sophomore, but this junior season was not what he needed, and I don't know how you would want to enter the
His
draft.
passing
I
was
feel like
terrible.
he entered because he was scared he'd do even worse next year.
Well, I think Georgia's starting to plummet as just a team in general
Not if
right
they're
now.
starting to plummet, they're still getting good recruits. It's just that they're not
They're not
performing the
they're
way
not
they should
performing.
be.
So I feel like that hurts him though.
Part of that problem is him
Yeah, I would
underperforming.
say that. Well, mainly this year because the passing was just atrocious. He missed
It was
everything.
not there. His deep ball was not there.
So that's scary as a team wanting to recruit somebody and you can't even make a pass in college. How are you going to do it in the NFL?
I think I'd be scared as an NFL coach because I'm like, what have you done these last few years in college? You're supposed to progress, but you've regressed and you have not looked like the player you were capable of being in your freshman year. What has happened, and how can we fix you?
What he's got to hope is get drafted late with a QB that can mentor him and show him the ropes of college,
Oh,
and then
that'll
he could be
definitely
a
be
great QB.
his situation. His situation will be underneath the quarterback for a
But
few
he's got to
years.
hope that he gets mentored the right way
Yeah, I don't know
because he
if
has
it's
the
I don't yeah.
potential for sure.
I don't know if it's psychological problems that are causing him to miss some of these throws and bad decisions. I don't know if it's just him like not working hard. I don't know if he's just not as good as he maybe his freshman year was a fluke. I don't know, but I like him leaving just scares me to think that he was just afraid of what would happen his senior season.
Yeah, it's definitely up in the air, but he's definitely got to perform next time he steps on the field if he gets when he gets drafted.
Because his draft stock was at an all-time low after this season. It did not go up. It probably plummeted from his first two seasons.
So yeah, I mean, we'll definitely have to see when he gets drafted and where he gets drafted. But he's definitely not going to start.
Oh well, no. Most people don't start. I mean, obviously, like the superstars like a Chase Young and a Joe Burrow would start, but like besides the superstars, many don't start, and they have to find their way through their in the backup position
I mean,
and learn the game
hopefully he
through
gets
their.
lucky like Dak Prescott did, and he had Tony Romo, an old QB with a lot of wisdom on the offensive side to just guide him through the offense.
Very true. I have ESPN right now has him ranked as the number 4 quarterback in this draft, just
Fromm?
behind Justin Herbert, Tua, and Joe. Yes, they have him as the number 4. So obviously the QB draft class in this draft is not very strong, so he could go earlier than expected and maybe help himself in the money category as well because of that.
So wait, they have an injured possibility above him.
Yeah,
That's
Tua is the
crazy.
number 2 quarterback in this draft.
That's crazy.
They have him just behind Joe.
That's crazy.
I don't know about that. Tua is an elite quarterback when healthy.
Justin Herbert's my number 2. That dude is huge.
Um, he has not impressed me at all. When
He's
he when he stayed, I was very confused because his draft stock was super high last year. Why? I'm not sure either. Because in the big games, he has disappointed me a lot.
what game?
The recent games that I've been watching of him, like
Well,
I
he
just
played great in the Wisconsin game,
did
and
he?
then
I was not able to catch that bowl game, but the
okay,
recent
well he
games of like Pac-12 and others were
he
disappointing.
destroyed Utah just because Oregon destroyed them. He played really well in that game, and then in the Wisconsin game, he had I think 2 rushing touchdowns, but the dude
Okay.
ran the ball like
That's my
crazy.
problem. What did he do passing?
Passing, I don't think he did that well passing in that game, but I
That's
know
that's what
that he
he was
played well
known
in those
for is what
games.
is scaring me. He was known for his passing, and his passing has not looked all too great this year.
I still see him as a high pick. I think he's number
Well, yeah,
2.
he'll be a high pick, but I don't think he'll be number 2. I think he will be 3 behind Tua because I think the people will take more of a chance on a Tua that can possibly still be elite than a Justin Herbert who I think can only be great. I think Tua can be elite. I do not think Justin Herbert is capable of it. And yeah, in that Wisconsin game, he was 14 for 20, but only had 138 yards and an interception.
Yeah, but I think he did have 2 rushing.
Once again, he's not a rushing quarterback though.
But I mean, it shows that when he runs, he can just open up a pocket and just bolt.
How long are those rushing touchdowns?
They
Not
weren't
very
long,
long, I
but
didn't
I know
think.
he was besides rushing touchdowns, he was rushing midfield when it was open.
All right. Like these are his last couple games. Like even the Utah game, only 193 passing yards, one touchdown. Oregon State, 174 passing yards, one touchdown. Arizona State, a loss. He did have 304 yards and two touchdowns, but he also threw two interceptions. Like some of these games are like,
How
what is
many
he
yards did he
looking
have in
at?
the Wisconsin game?
Wisconsin, he threw for only 138.
Did it say how many rushes?
His rushing, he had 9 rushing attempts for only 29 yards, but he had 3 rushing touchdowns.
I mean, I think he's like 6'7" or something like
Oh,
that.
he's huge. He's
He,
big. He's a big quarterback.
I don't know. I like him over Tua though.
Okay.
He's a big quarterback, and nobody's gonna. I mean, he could take a hit and he could hit somebody.
Sounds like the type of guy John Elway would draft. Please don't, John. I'm fine with Drew Lock. I do not need another tall white quarterback that's going to fail us and just leave in 2 years.
Well, if I'm an NFL QB this draft, I'm a little bit nervous if I'm not a guaranteed and I didn't play too well in the last season because there's some good recruits coming.
Yeah.
There's probably 5 solid QBs.
There's definitely a decent amount of quarterbacks in this draft, but after that, there's not much. So those teams will be fighting for those top 4 or 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, but who knows how spread out they're going to be? Because there's also this draft is stocked with running back, defense, linemen, everything. So
yeah, it is stacked. But if you need a quarterback and there's only 4 good ones, you're gonna have to take them early. Otherwise, you're going to lose.
So this draft's gonna be a crazy one.
Yeah. Is there anybody else that entered early that you were wanting to talk about?
There was what was his name? I think he was from here. Let me look it up. I think he was from. Was he from? No, he wasn't from Clemson.
Yeah, we wouldn't really know anybody from Clemson because they're still in the playoffs, so none of those players are worried about entering the draft. Alabama had their wide receiver enter.
Oh yeah,
Jerry Jeudy.
No, there was what's his? He was the third. Henry Ruggs. He entered.
Henry Ruggs entered too. Yeah, a lot of both of some of the top.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb also. Well, yeah, that's a given. Like the 3 we just named are elite wide receivers. Like this wide receiver class is insane.
And then there's also an elite number 1 Jeff Okudah for cornerbacks.
Very true. Ohio State.
Yeah, Henry Ruggs. He committed. DeAndre Swift. That's who I was thinking of from Georgia.
DeAndre Swift. I think ESPN has him as the top running back in the draft over J.K. Dobbins. Do you agree with that?
I don't personally, but I feel like J.K. Dobbins is the best one. I feel like Swift is probably.
I would also agree. I think J.K. Dobbins just has this explosiveness.
I don't know. I feel like Swift isn't that good about blocking.
J.K. Dobbins reminds me of Ezekiel Elliott when he was in college.
Yeah, same. He gives off that vibe. But that's, I think, mainly the people that. What was the wide receiver that was from Minnesota that was really good?
Shoot.
Was it Winfield?
Tyler Johnson was one of them, I believe.
Was it Winfield? Antoine Winfield?
Maybe.
Because this guy's a wide receiver. What is he? Antoine Winfield. Oh, he's a safety, so no, it wasn't him. But I thought somebody from Minnesota, a wide receiver, was a senior. But no, I don't see anybody. So. Yeah, I think that's everybody that's committed.
That anybody would care about for now.
Yeah, I mean, we still have to wait for
a crap ton. Even without LSU and
there's gonna be a lot of late
plenty
entries,
of them that'll still entry a little later. They're still thinking it over, or they just don't want to make an announcement right now, which is perfectly fine.
But after that, we got to talk about all the players that are going to the draft. They played in the Big Key Bowl games. Everybody looks forward to this time of the year because it's where all the good games happen and where everybody finds out if everybody messed up or if the committee didn't choose the right players for the right teams for the drafts. I definitely say they got some wrong, for sure. Some of these games were blowouts.
Well, bowl games, you can't. Bowl games, the only thing the committee decides for bowl games are the top 4. After that, the bowl games. There's a certain structure to it, but most of the time the bowl people themselves pick the teams for the money. And well, sometimes it's lopsided.
I know, but it's just like some of the things like I was watching the USC game. It was Iowa and USC. Iowa 10-3. USC 8-5. Like I feel like they could have had a better team go against them.
I mean but other teams aren't available because of other games and priorities.
Yeah, I
and
know
it's
there's a
just what
certain like
happens.
way of it though, but it just sucks that some of these games it's like you want to see if that team can actually
Yeah.
face a good team.
Let's just go over every bowl game, no matter how painful they were. Starting, the first bowl game was the 20th of December, and it was Buffalo versus Charlotte. Doesn't that sound intriguing?
Nope, not at all.
Yeah, they played in the Makers Wanted Bahamas Bowl. Can you just guess who won that game? Just give me a guess.
I would assume Buffalo because I don't know what Charlotte is.
Oh yeah, you're right. Buffalo won 31-9, and then after that was the Tropical Smoothie Cafe Frisco Bowl. That's a mouthful.
Doesn't that sound like it goes right off the tongue?
Yeah, that was Kent State and Utah State, and I believe Utah State was favored to win but lost. So that's pretty good, I guess. And I don't know how many people were watching that game.
Yeah, these are all teams that are like barely able to make the bowls. And
moving on was December 21st. We have Washington destroying number 19 Boise State 38-7. Boise State was exposed pretty bad in this game. It seems like.
Yeah, it shows how terrible their conference is. And
yeah, it just shows like you can't trust those smaller weak conferences. Like Boise State before this was 12-1 and looked in like a top team, and people were complaining they weren't in the top 15. And they just got blown out by Washington 38-7, and that's why no one trusts the small conferences.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust a small conference now.
We got a crap ton more to go through, so I'm just gonna start naming these games and scores. Appalachian State beat UAB 31-17 in the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Central Michigan lost to San Diego State 48-11 in the New Mexico Bowl. Liberty, oh man, everybody's favorite team, Liberty, beat Georgia Southern 23-16 in the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl. Who comes up with these names? Like, can someone tell me how they come up with bowl names?
It's whoever wants to pay for it.
I know, but come on, man. Can if they pay for it, like, can they just make it sound cooler sometimes? Like, oh
like,
my gosh.
There was a Camping World Bowl. Like, what?
The Cheez-Its Bowls. It's like, I don't know. Like, make up your own bowl. I don't know. Anyway, Florida Atlantic 52-28 over SMU in the Cheribundi Boca Raton Bowl. Like, Jesus. How many more are there? Oh my good. Okay, well, I'm gonna be listening for a little bit. So if you don't want to listen to this, you might want to fast forward about 45 seconds.
If you want to.
45 seconds to a minute. There you go, guys. But that's what we're gonna say. Arkansas State, my favorite, 34-26 over Florida International in the Camellia Bowl. UCF, the once powerhouse small team that wanted Bama, took Marshall 48-25 in the Bad Bay Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
UCF belongs in the college football playoff.
Yeah. Oh, wait. That one year, I think they could have had a chance. Never gave them the chance. And obviously, they will never be that good ever again. I was a big UCF fan when that happened. Always like a little underdog. They never got the chance. I'm disappointed. They ended up beating, I think it was either Auburn or LSU that year.
They destroyed whoever it was because they were pissed.
Yep. Moving on. Hawaii beat BYU in the SoFi Hawaii Bowl.
Hawaii lost to Boise State, so.
Yeah.
And then they came out in their bowl game and won.
Louisiana Tech beat Miami 14-0. Miami, you are pitiful. Miami, you are becoming a pitiful program in the ACC.
People are trying to say that Miami's getting their recruiting back, but
obviously this game shows you couldn't score a point against Louisiana Tech. Pittsburgh barely beat Eastern Michigan 34-30 in the Quick Lane Bowl. Not the best outcome there.
Nope.
Michigan State took down Wake Forest 27-21 in a New Era Pinstripe Bowl in New York City, New York.
That was actually a really good game. That was probably one of the first good games.
It was a good game, and it was very surprising that Michigan State won because, honestly, as a Michigan State fan, they were a pathetic team this year with a very lackluster offense, and Wake Forest was actually a decent team in the ACC, and I thought Wake Forest would come in and kick Michigan State's ass. For some reason, Michigan State decided to play a decent football game, and they won, even though they couldn't close out the game in the fourth quarter and kept giving Wake Forest chance after chance after chance. Wake Forest could not capitalize. All right, now we're finally moving into some big name bowl games because I see some names with numbers next to them. Iowa shit on USC 49-24 in the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. Once again, another great one to say. USC, you're not really represented for the Pac-12 very well here.
No, but the Big Ten wasn't really good this season.
Big Ten is always pretty good. Pac-12 always not that good, and always have complainers of why people don't respect the Pac-12. And these games are why. Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl saw Texas A&M take down number 25 Oklahoma State 24-21.
Texas A&M's becoming a good team. They got a great coach. They got a lot coming for them.
Yes, they do. They're young. They're getting recruits, and they will be good in a few years. Just watch. SEC, you are warned. North Carolina spanked Temple 55-13 in the Military Bowl presented by Northrop Grumman. This is a big game for North Carolina. First bowl game in a few seasons. They won 2 games last year, and to come into this season and turn around completely and win a bowl game was huge for them.
And they clobbered them. They destroyed them.
Oh, that wasn't even close. Moving on to the Cheez-It Bowl. Ooh, I love Cheez-Its. It's a great one. Air Force took down Washington State 31-21. Okay. We're going to skip the college football playoff bowls that happen next because we have a little segment about those. And we're going to go to the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, which had Penn State beat Memphis. For a while, this game was close, and I was kind of worried. I was like, Penn State, what you doing? It's Memphis. You're Penn State. You should be beating them.
Took off.
Oh, yeah, they just took off like usual. This next game, I felt pretty bad for Iowa State because they didn't stand a chance against Notre Dame, but in the Camping World Bowl, they were.
This was a game I was wondering, why was Iowa State in it?
It's the filler team. They needed a Big 12 team, and this was the one that was left, man.
That sucks. Because that was not a good game, and Notre Dame.
It wasn't close at all.
Notre Dame is a team that can go iffy, and that would have been great to have a ranked team against them.
Number 9, Florida took down 24 Virginia, 36-28 in Capital One Orange Bowl. I was actually quite surprised by this. I thought Florida was going to blow Virginia out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all thought that, and then Virginia showed up a little bit. I mean, then they went up against Clemson.
Clemson in the ACC championship, and it wasn't very close.
I mean, in the first quarter, it was 0-0.
I mean, and then Clemson was like, holy shit, this is Virginia. What are we doing, guys?
I was talking about the start of the game, but...
Yeah, a cup of close. Hopefully, maybe this means Virginia will be on a little bit of a roll these next few years for the ACC. Who knows? Western Kentucky took down Western Michigan in the Battle of the Western Universities in the Surf Pro First Responder Bowl, 23-20. Congratulations, Western Kentucky. Nobody cares. Louisville took down Mississippi State 38-28 in the Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl. Congratulations, Louisville. Once again, another game nobody cared. Our home state, Fighting Illini, unfortunately went down to California in the Red Box Bowl, 35-20.
It's been a while since they've been in a bowl game too, and I thought they had a chance. They were close at points, but then they just couldn't hold on.
But they just couldn't do it. Maybe they'll get there. I'm not sure.
They're turning around.
Lovey's been. I mean, it's been a very slow turnaround, but they are turning around. Maybe they'll finally make that jump.
They beat a top 10 team this year, so.
Yeah. Now this next game just makes my heart full. Because I've been telling everybody, Utah fucking sucks. But these experts think that Utah was good this year. Well, guess what? Utah got their ass kicked in the Alamo Bowl, 38-10 by unranked Texas.
That's just sad.
Yeah. And to think this team was a 1 win away from being in the college football playoff. Not appealing at all. I hate. That's why the college football playoff is broken to me. Teams like that shouldn't have even been close to making it in. And this team, if they would have beat Oregon, which ended up becoming almost a game because Oregon was letting their foot off the gas, it just blows my mind that this team was even considered in the top 5 all year long.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but I can't wait for 2025.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll have an 18 playoff by then. Navy 20 23 ranked beats Kansas State 20-17 in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. Congratulations, Navy.
That's two military teams with the win, Air Force and Navy.
Congrats, Air Force. Congrats, military. Kentucky ups. I don't know if it's an upset, but they beat Virginia Tech 37-30. There was conflict before this game happened. I think there was a fight before the game.
Not too sure. Two random teams that shouldn't be fighting.
Yeah, there was a fight before the game. Why? I don't know. There's definitely no bad blood between Virginia Tech and Kentucky football because neither one of them are very relevant. Although both teams seem to be having decent seasons, they just aren't what they're known for in their schools. Congratulations, though, Kentucky. Arizona State beat Florida State 20-14 in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
I think this is just kind of showing that Florida State's been going down.
Florida
and they're not really
State needs to turn it around real fast because their fans are getting pissed.
Yeah, they're just down. There's not really much they can really do.
I don't know what's happening, but the team went from elite to not good at all, and they need to figure it out because I'm fucking tired of Clemson dominating the ACC. Florida State was their only competition. Fix it, Florida State, please. I'm tired of fucking Clemson. Wyoming beat Georgia State 38-17 in a game that nobody probably watched. Georgia beat Baylor 26-14. Now, this game didn't really seem that close. Georgia seemed to have the lead the whole game, and Baylor just never could do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically
That's basically what it was. Like, Baylor, you just weren't good enough. The SEC is too good for the Big 12, as shown here. Jake Fromm, 250 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Decent game to end your career on. Not going to lie, Jake. Not going to lie, decent game. But you got to fix the rest of your shit for your NFL. Oregon beat Wisconsin in a great game, 28-27 at the Rose Bowl. What a game!
Back and forth game. The whole entire day was a great
game to watch. It was awesome.
It was a great game.
That was probably the best game of college football.
The Rose Bowl every year is never a blowout. It's always close, which is great. It's great to watch.
Moving on, this was a very big surprise to me. Was Minnesota beating Auburn 31-24?
I told this to Dom. I told him, I was like, Minnesota is gonna win, and he didn't believe me. He thought
Auburn
Minnesota didn't have a chance.
is the more talented team. They have the better talent, but Minnesota is just a better, well-coached team, and that showed.
Minnesota has a great coach, and they're gonna be reckoned with in Big Ten now.
They will be a team of the top in the Big Ten.
They're definitely going to be. They're going to be ranked coming in next season. And that's going to be a first.
They will not be underestimated this season. I am glad. I'm glad a new team is finally stepping up in the Big Ten, and instead of the Wisconsins and Ohio States and Michigans. Like, this team is like finally coming up from ruins, and I very well enjoy it. Unfortunately, for another Big Ten SEC matchup, the Big Ten was not able to get the best of it when Alabama beat Michigan 35-16.
Started off close. Halftime was great. And then shit show. Michigan.
It started off close, but let's remember the first play of the game on offense for Alabama was like an 85-yard touchdown.
But then didn't Michigan come back with a...
They did come back, which was all nice, but you can't let up an 85-yard touchdown on the first play.
I mean, they played great in the first half, though. They played incredible. And then they walked out with the lead in the first half.
I think that's what the story of Michigan has been, though. They play great at times.
They're a one-half team, yes, yeah.
But for the most part, they just suck it up, and that's all you can really say. All right, well, I'm going to speed through these next 2 bowl games because it's the last of them, and no one really cares. I didn't watch any of these. Cincinnati beats Boston College 38-6 in the Birmingham Bowl. No one cares. Tennessee beats Indiana 23-22 after they started off the season 0-3, 0-4 after losing to Georgia State, and everybody's like, "What the hell? Oh, what's wrong with Tennessee?" So this is a nice turnaround, Tennessee. Good job. Ohio beats Nevada 30-21 in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Yikes! What a name. Tulane 30-13 over Southern Miss in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. And finally, we had Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns over Miami, Ohio in the Lending Tree Bowl, 27-17. So that wraps up the regular bowl games, let's get to the college football playoff bowl games, shall we?
Let's go.
Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with the shit show.
The
Start with
shit show?
Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oklahoma. I'll give you a hint of to how you don't get embarrassed in college TV next time. Don't let Joe Burrow throw for 6 touchdowns in the first half.
I think we can all agree whatever team was going to get put in that position was just going to get just blown out.
I didn't know they were going to let someone throw 6 touchdowns in the first half, though. That was utter embarrassment.
And their offense did not perform.
Jalen Hurts, where the hell were you?
That was probably one of his worst games ever played, and he had, 2 weeks to work on his game before that?
Jalen Hurts was 15 for 31, 217 yards, and 1 interception. I'm pretty sure most of those yards came in the second half.
Yeah, he just did not play well at all.
His first half was awful.
Yeah, and then they just got pity points in the second half.
I mean, they only got scored a touchdown each quarter, so I mean, I don't know if they even got pity points. It was just who gives a shit. Like they got their random touchdown every now and then. Like it was 7-7 at the beginning of the game. Like Oklahoma had a nice drive to score, and then like after that,
but their defense just couldn't hold it.
Another problem is they just couldn't do anything on offense. This is their offensive drives. 3 plays, punt. 3 plays, punt. Touchdown. 3 plays. It doesn't help
when your defense
punt,
lets the team run down 4 times and score.
It also doesn't help when you're only doing 3 and outs and you have the ball for 30 seconds at a time and your defense gets absolutely no rest before they're already back on the field with Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Just not what you needed in this situation. It was just a very, very bad game for Oklahoma. Great game for LSU. Congratulations, Joe. You looked amazing. They seem to be the very odds-on favorite to win the college football playoff after that because they just looked dominant on all sides of the ball. But let's move on to the game that people actually thought was good and it actually was very enjoyable. Was Clemson, Ohio State. Now, Cole, as an Ohio State fan, I understand there may be some reason for being mad about the outcome of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I've even told Dom I don't like to shit talk the refs, but there was a little bit of Ohio State playing shitty, but there was also a lot that didn't help them. I mean, having 16-0 lead and then 16-14 going into halftime, that's not the best, but also it doesn't help when the other team's driving down and then it's third down, like 3rd and 10, and then QB lowers his head when he's about to get tackled. One of the better defensive backs gets targeting play. They get first down.
I mean, technically it is the rule. It's not the ref's fault, but the rule is bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, if a QB lowers his head when he's getting...
when a ginormous QB tucks down 2 feet, it looks like, to get rocked in the head at a back that's running full speed at him, not able to change direction of his course.
And they have to stay high because the QB is going to move. I mean, if you go at the ground...
He wasn't even that high, honestly. It's just that he ducked
he was at like chest level, and the guy ducked. Trevor Lawrence ducked so low, but I mean, that doesn't help because it's third down midfield, so they get all the way to like the 35, and that just...
And they end up scoring.
Yeah, it stops the momentum. This was probably one of the worst calls I've seen this year. Player catches ball from Trevor Lawrence, takes 3 steps, goes upfield, fumbles the ball.
4.
Yes, fumbles the ball, and then they say that it wasn't a catch. We gotta come up with a rule.
I don't get the rule.
We gotta come up with a rule.
They were like, I don't think he went upfield. It was like he made 3 steps and looked like he was going upfield, and they looked like they just gave it. I don't even know the explanation because that was 3 steps at least.
Yeah, we need to come up with a rule to define a catch.
Because that was huge. They returned that for a touchdown, didn't they?
Yeah, and they would. And not sure if they went down and scored on the drive, but that's big momentum change and brings Ohio State another 7 points. I mean, that, and then there was one more play that was, I don't know how you don't call pass interference on this. Ohio State defender gets knocked down mid pass route. As the ball is coming down, he's on the ground, hits him in the thigh, and they say it's not a catchable pass. The ball hit him in the thigh. How's it not catchable? when he's
I don't
laying on
know.
the ground.
I don't know.
But
Now, I will agree there was very shitty calls, but Ohio State definitely did not help themselves in the game. One of
no,
the
they
best,
started out great, but they
yeah,
got field goals.
that's
Scored
what I
one
was going to bring
touchdown
up.
and then
One of
field
the
goal city.
best red zone scoring touchdown teams in the country, and all they could come up with was field goal after field goal after field goal. And this is what keeps teams like Clemson in the game because you're not extending your lead very well.
But I mean, at the time, it seemed right because Clemson wasn't scoring, and then they came on their one
Well,
drive,
yeah,
and then it
but
just happened.
you need to score touchdowns against a team like Clemson because they can go off at any moment.
Yeah, but I mean, in the second half, they played well, but not well enough.
Another error was the running into the punter.
Yeah, that
Huge
hurt.
momentum
That
shift.
hurt.
Clemson punts it away. You guys rough the punter, and they end up scoring on that drive.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad calls. Not
And
really
my
too well
final
played.
say, Justin Fields, perfect last possession until his final throw. Why? The whole possession he was throwing to what the defense was giving him, raking his way down the field, throwing to the check down, throwing to the short routes, and it was working. He was getting the yardage that he needed, and there was still about 30 seconds left on the clock when they were about at the 20-yard line. And in this final pass, J.K. Dobbins is sitting in the middle of the field,
No, he's sitting on the
wide.
side. Sitting on
It
the
was
side.
okay, it was a little bit of the side, but he was sitting there wide open with
And he
plenty of green in
a
front of
young
him.
quarterback in his first big game season,
And
first big
yes,
season, and he just goes for the
he
touchdown.
he goes for the touchdown, and him and his receiver
Miscommunication
had a
with his.
miscommunication, and the game is over. Even if he doesn't have the miscommunication, I don't know if that receiver even catches that ball.
No, he threw it into double coverage, but it's just
Yeah,
wasn't a good pass. Wasn't a good decision.
wasn't a good read at all.
But I mean, it also makes sense in a way if you think about it more. Though they went into the red zone, they only got field goals. If they get closer into that red zone, they more likely
Yeah,
don't have an opportunity.
I get
If you
the
think
opportunity. He wants more space, yeah,
yeah.
but he can't throw that ball.
No, you got to go with the safe.
Besides that,
safe.
though, it was a good game. It was a good game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot better than the other game.
Hopefully, Clemson loses though, because I'm tired of hearing about Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, the Dabo Swinney era needs to not happen because
Yeah.
Swinney's gonna be all over the fucking ESPN just talking shit. I hope he gets fucking blown out. I hope the next year after this year their draft just goes fucking plummets and Clemson never becomes a good team again. I hate Clemson.
Okay. Well, staying on pace with Clemson, they're going to be playing LSU in that college football playoff championship. What do you expect from this game?
I expect Joe Burrow to have another great game. I expect their offense to explode. I feel like Clemson, they didn't perform well in the first half. Their offense got kind of shook. If that happens in this game, they don't have a recover like they did against Ohio State. They need to be on full force the whole game or they will get blown out, plain and simple.
Oh yeah, you cannot start slow against LSU. If you start slow against LSU, Joe Burrow and that offense will never look back.
I think the key thing in this game though is if they let Joe Burrow drive down first drive and score a touchdown, not even a field goal, a touchdown, that's not good because that gives him a lot of intel, a lot of momentum. That defense is strong when they come on too. It doesn't look good when you let Joe Burrow drive down. If you get him a field goal, it's not as much because he's not as hyped, but touchdown, that's not good.
The key to this game is Trevor Lawrence. Okay, people are gonna say the key is like Clemson's defense. No, okay, because LSU is gonna score. I don't care how good Clemson's defense is. LSU is going to score. Trevor Lawrence is going to need to lead that offense and score right back every single time.
One thing that happened in the Ohio State Clemson game was Trevor Lawrence ran the ball often, like a ton. He hadn't done that.
It opens it up.
And he hadn't done that all season. He mainly stayed in the pocket. So that's a big thing for LSU to look at. That's a big decision factor. That's going to be...
Trevor Lawrence is the key factor here.
Well, just him running the ball, getting out of the pocket is... Because he didn't do that a lot, and that's just something that they're going to have to see how often he does, because he did it very, very often in the Ohio State game. Who knows how often he does it in this game, though.
What is your prediction for this game?
My prediction, I think it's going to be close. I feel like it's going to be 38-28 in favor of LSU.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be closer than people expect. Some people are expecting a blowout, but I'm sorry, you can't judge LSU's performance against Oklahoma compared to Clemson's performance against Ohio State, because Oklahoma and Ohio State are two different teams on two different levels. Ohio State is way better than Oklahoma. Clemson had a way harder opponent in their game compared to LSU, and Clemson is a really good team, whether people like it or not. Yes, they play in the weak ACC, but that's no excuse to call them a bad team. Like, that's what I've been saying. I've been saying ACC. They're bad. But in reality, they're really not bad. They have tons of talent. They probably have one of the best defenses, if not the best defense
you can't
in the country.
say that. The ACC is bad. They have one good team coming out of it, though.
It's not a good enough excuse to say Clemson's not good. It's not.
No, because they do out of.
They are here.
Everybody hates them like crazy, but they do perform.
But I do agree with you. I think LSU pulls this one off. I think Joe Burrow and his offense are too much. I think this game starts off as like a little bit of like a high scoring game, but once the defense is settled down a bit, it'll slow. But Joe Burrow won't be stopped too often, and I have LSU winning 35-24.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. And with that wraps up the podcast. We talked from players entering the draft to the bowl games to the NCAA playoff, and also our prediction for the championship game. If you guys did enjoy the podcast, be sure to give it a like, 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify. If you're on YouTube and you're still listening, give us a big fat subscribe button. It's the big red button. Please help us do that, or give us a like. We very, very much appreciate it. Comment your opinions on the bowl games, your predictions for the playoffs, or anything about the draft. Greatly appreciate it. We read all the comments and we reply to them. Any last words, Tom?
Not really. Enjoy the college football playoff championship. I think we will be enjoying that together.
Yeah, me, Colton, and Dom probably will be. Don't drink too much. It is a Monday, so everybody has work tomorrow. Other than that, see you guys in the next podcast.